welcome and Happy New Year. Dave Corum here, your host for The Truth is Simple. Start of our second season. I can't believe I made it here. Episode 1. Today is Tuesday, January 9th, 2024. Happy New Year. I hope you had a great, fabulous Christmas. I hope it's going to be one that'll be memorable for you and your family for many years to come, because there is a good possibility that a lot of the future Christmases and so forth may drastically change quite a bit. We're coming upon an election. Well, we're here. This is an election year. Not coming upon, it's here. Elections are going to be happening this year for president, and I want to start with something that kind of came out while I was on the break, and that's a Colorado Supreme Court decision. I know I'm a little bit late, but this is going to lead up into this election year, as I'm going to kind of do an episode after episode. I was watching a video yesterday about a congressman who's, I'm going to talk about him a little bit later. I'm not going to disclose who he is, but he gave a pretty interesting interview to Tucker. I know, yay, boo, whatever, take it for granted, whatever it is. Things are, you're not going to probably get to see this guy in any other way. He's not one of those congressmen that get on video and that's out there very often. Darrell Issa, if you remember him, he was pretty quiet in the backgrounds too, and things until things hit the fan back when the Democrats were going after Trump when he was president with the Russian scandal, which was all a bunch of BS. Why didn't nobody go to prison there? Good question. Ask Bill Barr. And the person he directed to take over that investigation and so forth and so on at the end. I can't remember his name, but anyway, it'll come back to me sometime. But that's an whole mess. So what we want to talk about today is the 14th Amendment, because that is what a lot of these jurisdictions, Colorado, the Supreme Court, is utilizing, as well as Sheena Bellows, who is the Secretary of State in Maine. She also removed Trump's name from she, by herself, removed Trump's name by the ballot. A Democrat, would you believe it or not? I find that hard to believe, that a Democrat who is for freedom and freedom of elections and so forth would remove the leading person running for office. And we're going to talk about January 6th, probably next week. Another huge interview came out on that. You're going to have to see it for yourself. I'll put a link up next week when I bring that up. But you're going to have to watch that yourself and see that kind of what I've been feeling. I might have even made some comments in the past that January 6th was a hoax and set up. They were set up. I'm starting to believe my wisdom and background and so forth has some real stuff to it. There are some predictions I'm probably going to make about this upcoming election. I hope they don't come true. Maybe I'm just negative in that way. I would hope they don't come true, but I think to some aspect they might actually come true. And this is going to lead up into some of that. But let's talk about Colorado. There was a ruling by the Supreme Court. I don't remember exactly which day it was, but sometime in the early mid-December, about taking Trump's name off the ballot in Colorado. Well, they went back and they were reviewing a case that happened in a lower court there, where I think it was the Secretary of State filed charges against, or wanted to take Trump's name off the ballot, but the only way they could really do it was by going to a court and getting some kind of judicial ruling about Trump basically caused insurrection on January 6th from his gathering out before the White House on that day, and then the entrance of the Capitol building up on the Capitol Mall. But I think that was all rigged. I think all you need to do is go to the source and look at a few emails. Probably Nancy Pelosi has most of them. So find it out on Nancy Pelosi's emails, those that have not been deleted. But hey, you know, the information there is not really deleted. But anyway, that's for another day. So the Republican Party in Colorado basically became the defendant in the case to kind of keep Trump's name up there on the ballot. That court found that there was Trump did possibly violate that law of insurrection, the insurrection law, and may have caused that. But because of his First Amendment rights, I think is what they responded to, because he was the president of the United States at that time, that he was somewhat immune to any kind of prosecution or being found guilty from his comments. He's allowed to speak and say as he wishes. That they found that he was guilty, but his name could not be removed because it wasn't to that level, or it didn't cover him as far as that goes. And the Supreme Court of Colorado disagreed. They said, you found him guilty, basically, and we think his name needs to come off. We're going to give him till January 4th to basically go to the Supreme Court of the United States and get it reinstated. If it's not, his name's off the ballot. So that's basically, I believe, from what I've read and kind of researched, what happened in this incident. So what we need to do as a teacher, you need to go back and see where the 14th Amendment came from. How did that even come into play? Who was writing this? Why did they write it? That type of thing. I lost one of my lights up here, but I think I'm all right. You can still kind of see me a little bit. I'm scary, but not that scary. So let's go and take a peek at that. So 14th Amendment, as you can see right here, was ratified on July 9th, 1868. It's known as the amendment that provides equal protection under the law and provides citizenship to all persons born or naturalized, including the slaves. So this amendment came out because, we had a bunch of people newly formed in the country that were they were people, but they were finally legalized and realized as people, the slaves in the South. Probably weren't a whole lot of documentation for slaves back in that day. Birth certificates and that probably did not exist for them, or very few of them. So you have this huge population that now has to become part of the citizenry for voting rights and other stuff in the country. How do we handle that? So that's basically where this amendment came from. It provides them a method to become citizens of the United States based upon being born here and or how their naturalization, because at that time, I believe slaves were still being brought into the country, maybe not at the rates they were earlier in the 17 and 1800s or early 1800s, but they were still being brought here from Africa at that time. So that's what this amendment, where it grew from, where it came from, and how it became part. It's really unfortunate that the Supreme Court of Colorado looks at one section and dismisses the entire rest of the amendment. So they use Section 3 as their penalty phase for Trump taking his name off the ballot. So here's what that reads. No person, be a senator or a representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president, or hold any office in civil or military under the United States or any state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid and comfort to enemies thereof. But Congress may, by vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such disability. So this is what they're using, the Colorado Supreme Court is using to remove Trump's name off the ballot. A lot of issues with this right here. It's just one section. So when you look at this one section, if there were no other sections within the 14th Amendment, you might say, it doesn't really say the guy has to be found guilty. It doesn't really say that there needs to be any circumstantial or outstanding evidence that you could just assume, or anybody could assume. And if you can assume, therefore he is guilty, and yeah, he did insurrection, and therefore we can take his name off. That's what this section kind of looks like. But when you take that apart and don't read the rest of 14th Amendment, you kind of miss the important part why you can't do that. And this part of the 14th Amendment, I believe it's Section 1. I thought that was it, but it's not. This is it. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law, or deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. And this is what the Colorado Supreme Court decided not to look at. This basically says there's got to be a due process. Trump needs to be found guilty. Remember that case that came from the lower court and came up to the Supreme Court? That case in and of itself, I just lost my second light. That case was a result of I believe it was the state's Secretary of State who's a Democrat in Colorado, wanting to take Trump's name arbitrarily off the ballot. But that person couldn't do it, so they filed a lawsuit. And then as a way of protecting the state, Trump at this point didn't really care when the suit was happening. He may have known or may not have known that, but he was never directly, personally brought into the case. The Republican Party defended the case in and of itself. Not so much probably for Trump in and of him, but if they were able to do this in Colorado, they could eventually take off anybody the Republican Party puts up for office, based upon however the other party that's in power, the Democrats at this point, want to allow or let them into office or be on the ballot. So this is where the Supreme Court of Colorado got it wrong. They didn't follow the law. They didn't follow the 14th Amendment. It clearly says no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of a citizen of the United States. And last time I checked, Trump does not reside in Colorado. I think he's a current resident of Florida. Could be wrong. He could still have his residency in New York. But he's been primarily living in Florida, from what I understand. He's a citizen of the United States, and Colorado just can't arbitrarily remove him from that based upon whatever they think they can do. It's a violation of the law, and it's against the 14th Amendment. So they broke the law, and it should be reversed by the Supreme Court. Let's look at one instance here. So here's a ruling by the Colorado Supreme Court. You can go look at that yourself, and pretty much all the information I got was looking and reading their decision. It's really short and abrupt. Kind of describes a little bit of the lower court's decision processing, and then theirs. It's really short and simple. It's a 2-minute read or less. So look at it, and you'll see for yourself. But just because they've decided to inks Section 1, Section 1 of the 14th Amendment doesn't make it legal. Okay, you have to consider all parts of the law. I'm not an attorney. Maybe I should have been. I used to work for a judge. He said, "Dave, you need to go to law school." I'm not going to tell you. I may eventually find. I don't even know if he's still alive, but because he said I had that kind of a mind. But anyway, that being said, I am not an attorney. This is a layman's reading of the Constitution and so forth and so on, using common sense. The truth is simple. Just read it for yourself and find out for yourself what the truth is. So you may not like Trump, but he is entitled to the privileges as being a citizen of the United States under the Constitution. All right. Let's see. Let's look at Biden and the Democrats. Why not? You're picking one guy out of the box. Why not pick the other guy too? Biden and the Democrats. The years of Antifa when they were doing all the riots all over the country and so forth and so on. You could say Trump or Biden, the Democrats, who are bailing people out of prison, out of jail, supporting these people. Hey, you know what? There's a peaceful rally going on here. The news reporter says, and in the background, you're seeing a fire. The building's burning down, or police cars on fire. No, it's peaceful, yeah. But we're just burning downtown away. That's not peaceful. I hate to tell you, but that is not peaceful. Here, Biden and the Democrats. The 14th Amendment, Section 3, Biden's name should be removed out as well. Why? If you go to that article from the Center for Strategic and International Studies, didn't look at the date, but if you go to that website, you'll kind of see where when all these things were happening, the Department of Justice and Trump were saying these were terrorist acts. Antifa believes in destroying the American government. If that in and of itself is not what we call insurrection, right? If that's not insurrection, I don't know what is. They went into the Capitol building on January 6th. Yes, we're going to talk about that next week. How some of those people, how I believe, and the information, how I believed for some time, and the information is coming out slowly but surely. Hopefully it'll be done in the next year and a half or less, because there's a good chance that whoever the Republican nominee is for office will not get elected. Trump or nobody, it doesn't matter, because there other things are going to come into play in the next 6 to 9 months. That's going to turn everything upside down. You're going to see it happen in front of your eyes. But that is insurrection. Antifa's insurrection. And Biden supported them. You could even say some of the Black Matter events, which were violent, they supported them. You could say that the supports for Hamas, a terrorist organization that are happening continually all over the United States right now, which I said back in October, everybody's supporting Israel now, but give it 2, 3, 6 months, and you'll see it's going to flip on its head. We are there. It's flipped on its head. So again, I'm right on this stuff. This is common sense. Use your eyes. The truth is simple. Just see it and believe it and realize it, that this stuff is happening around you. But Biden and the Democrats, because, let me take you back to that section real quick. Back to that one. Wrong, that one. I got to get my buttons down here. We go back to that one right there. Look, it says right here, have engaged in the insurrection or rebellion or given aid or comfort to enemies thereof. If you're bailing people out of jail, if you are giving them support by telling them on the news, online, through Twitter, through any of these other means, that it's okay to do that. If you're the president of the United States and you're saying it's okay, if you're the president of the United States and you're allowing an invasion coming over your southern border, you're not protecting the citizens of the United States, and you know that some of those persons coming across the border are terrorists, probably terrorist cell groups coming across to infest the United States for someday to be awoken and to launch an attack, multiple attacks at the same time in the United States. You're giving what? Aid and or comfort to your enemy. Biden should be pulled off the same thing. He should be taken off based upon those items right there. There you go. If they can do Trump, why can't the Republicans, when they get in office, do the same to Biden or whoever is going to be running next for the office? We have people in office right now, AOC, people like that. The lady from Michigan, I forget her name, who supports Hamas. They're aiding and abetting. They're giving money. They're supporting them online and food. They should be removed from Congress as well. So you can't do it to one person of one party and not do it to the other person in the other party. Are we a country with laws that are of equal against all, or is it just against when somebody's in power? It's against the opposing party, or vice versa. It's ludicrous, right? And let me show you one more slide. And so here's the 14th Amendment, Section 5. What I would recommend, because this amendment's never really been, or these sections have never really been to the Supreme Court. And because they haven't, the Democrats currently are doing whatever they can to abuse the Constitution to meet their needs or demands. If they can block it or delay it or stop something from happening for long enough till it's too late, this Trump thing right here, with all the lawsuits that are going on all over the country, with all the this stuff happening with the secretaries of state trying to take his name off the ballot in the last minute. Um, this is where Congress can come in and they can make laws. It says right here, 14th Amendment, Section 5, the Congress shall have the power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article. They can create laws and rules and regulations based upon what this stuff means. They haven't done it so far since 1868 because there was no need. But now there's definitely a need, right? I don't know if you could put something, if the Congress could probably get something passed because the Republicans have enough people in office to support it and get it through. But it's going to get boondoggled and blocked in the Senate at this point. And of course, if it does get to Biden's desk, he's not going to sign it. He's not going to sign anything that puts him or anybody he wants in power or they want in power in jail. They just don't. They don't believe in the equal applicability of the law across the land. They just don't. They use it as a political tool and a weapon to attack people. I just want to say one last quick thing on the election in Iowa that's coming up. Nikki Haley, I don't really know her. I don't really didn't follow her. I know she's had a good political career in the past. But I don't think she's really a Republican. I don't think that I think she's an old school Republican, one of the conformist Republicans. Good or bad, I don't think she's totally Democrat, but I don't think she's the one that's going to stop what's happening in our country right now. I just don't believe that. I think if you vote and support her, you're doing a disservice to your country if you're trying to bring America back and make it great. I'm not a Trump. I'm not a huge Trump supporter either. But I have to say, what he did in his 4 years with everything that was going on against him from the Democrats in the House and everywhere else in the country and the news, the press that's not the press, that's propagandist television that pose as press, what was coming in from all of them, I think he did an outstanding. He got more done in 4 years with all that negativity than any president probably since Ronald Reagan. He's not Ronald Reagan. He could be Ronald Reagan, if he gets another 4 years and turns the country around. It could lead to the years of stability. But there is something else out there that's globalized. Globalized, that's coming and attacking us because we are that country on the peak that if the United States falls, the rest of the world falls. Everything falls. Democracy falls throughout the world. Democrats are not democratic. They are current Democrats are communists. They are globalists, and they're beyond socialists. They believe in total control of you and everything in your family and everything you do and support. And if you are still a Democratic supporter, you could be Democrat. There's nothing wrong with being that. But if you're supporting them and turning a blank eye to what's happening around you, the saying goes, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, and my whole family gets messed up. The whole world gets overturned and overchanged. Use your common sense. The simple truth is simple. You know what needs to be done. We need to bring back to the United States because it is the only place in the world where it might be too late. I don't know. It's the only place. I don't like doing this, coming out and talking to you. I'm worried about my family, my grandkids. I just spent time with them over the holidays, and my little grandbabies. I'm worried about their future. I'm worried about your grandbaby's future and the future of this country and future of the world. That's why I do this. I'm not doing it for any personal self-interest. I'd rather just disappear into my own little world and go fishing, go hiking, shoot photographs and shoot video, and appreciate and live with or visit my grandkids and my kids and so forth, and see some of the world and so forth and so on. That's what I'd prefer to do. I don't want to do this. I don't get any excitement out of this video or coming here and talking to you about this stuff. But I am just one of hundreds, maybe thousands at this point. We need tens of thousands of us out here doing the same thing. I hope you'll take some time and if you watch this, take some time and actually pass this information to somebody to look at. It's put a little link and send it to a friend or a neighbor or whatever and say, this guy is kind of crazy, but he's right on target. I hope that's what I am. I just can't believe the insanity that's going on around us, and that people don't care. And if you don't care, you're going to get to a point when it's too late. One of the fellows I watched just yesterday a video on, he says we may already be too late. I hope that's not true. We outnumber the small minority that wants to take global power from us, the WHO. You need to know what's going on there, and some of the other things. And when I did the Second Amendment and did the free press, I talked about the large corporations out there and stuff that are running these news agencies. They're not really news; they're propaganda agencies for whoever the rich people that want to control us, the little guys, me and you. And we outnumber them 1,000,000 to 1, trying to find a means of control. So as for this, I want to say thanks for listening to me. I know I've been ranting for the last 5 minutes or so about stuff, but I just wanted to build you up. We're going to talk next week about probably January 6th, 2021, I think it was, right? The Insurrection Day, the day that was worse than the Civil War. Yeah. Do your own research. How many Americans died in the Civil War? A lot. It was our most bloodiest war. More bloody than World War II and World War I, I think, combined. And yet, this January 6th, where one person got killed. Ashley Babbitt, who was shot and murdered by a police officer. I don't know if color matters, because it doesn't. This person should have been prosecuted. As a retired police officer, public safety commissioner, what happened from the evidence I saw in the video and from what I have listened to and watched, that guy should be in prison for violation, and the government should be sued heavily for that assassination, that murder. Let's just say if that would have happened by a police officer in any city in the United States, and the officer was anything but a black man, he would have been persecuted on every major news media outlet until he was found guilty and put in prison. So Hispanics, Asian, they probably would have been persecuted and put in prison just as bad as a white police officer. I don't believe in race as far as color of skin. I believe a lot like Martin Luther King, integrity is based upon the person inside and how they portray and what they do and their actions. And skin color means nothing to me. Nothing. So with that said, we'll see you next week. Maybe some of the things I said hit you to heart. Maybe some of the things I said means nothing to you. I hope I entertained you then a little bit, because if you're still watching, I try to be a little bit entertaining. But we'll see you next week. You guys have a great week, and we'll be talking about January 6th. After that week, I'm leaning towards talking about the World Health Organization, because there's something big coming in May. All right, you guys take care. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.